Welcome, BBCers, to episode number 270 of the Broken by Concept podcast, the number one League of Legends solo queue educational and motivational podcast. Curtis, Charlie, today we're going to be exploring the mental stack.
That's correct. So, mental stack is a topic that we talk a lot about on this podcast.
We love the mental stack.
We do love the mental stack. We use it practically in our coaching on a day-to-day basis.
So we can justify when we fail flash into a wall or something like that.
It explains everything. Explains absolutely
it's
everything.
the perfect excuse
All my
for
mistakes.
boomers
Yep.
like us.
My brain's too slow.
Every blunder, it's like, oh, mental stack is overloaded, man. Like, completely overloaded.
All right. Well, so I guess it makes sense to start with what is the mental stack? So I want to gank you guys.
Oh.
Straight up. How would you guys define in a really simple way the mental stack? And don't worry about making it fancy as a definition. Just think practically. What do you think is a mental stack?
I am, dude. I'm throwing in some scientific words here. Working memory.
Yep.
So the human mind can only think about 5 to 7 things at once. If you put in an 8th thing, mental stack overload.
We're not robots.
Yeah,
It's
true.
literally that binary. It's like,
Yeah.
we're completely chugging along up
Yeah.
until point number 7, and then point 8 comes, and we're just like, we just can't function anymore. We're just dead.
That's how I conceptualize it
That's a
in
good
my
one.
mind. And the other thing that comes to mind when I think about mental stack is I need to bolster up my subconscious as much as possible, build that champ mastery, build that game sense, getting those reps. So then I'm allowed to think about those certain things. I can autopilot clear my camps, for example, as a jungler. I instantly can think about what's next and I can go there, but also look at like the speed at which I understand what's going on in a lane as well. So yeah, I tie those things really closely together. Basically, having a good mental stack is I'm trying to have as much muscle memory, some autopilot thinking as possible to allow me to think about the important things that are happening on the map at any given time.
Charles, go.
All right, so mental stack I view as it's the intersection of two variables. We've got the amount of skills in the game. So we have all this different skill set of things we have to do. We have to like take a bot lane, for example. We have to CS, we have to manage the wave, we have to trade, we have to find out when to recall, we have to track the jungler. We have all these things we have to do all at once. That's variable 1. That's A in the mental stack formula. And then variable B is your proficiency to do each of these skills at a baseline. And your proficiency compared to the number of them that you can do is your mental stack. It's like how many of these things can you multitask at the same time with minimal conscious effort so that you can apply conscious effort to bigger picture things. I think that's how I would describe it.
Okay. There's a lot there to unpack. I think we need to go deeper on this throughout the episode. I've got here just very simply, it's a term used to describe the allocation of our mental energy and focus at any one time. Right, when you think about how you use it, right, you know, we're kind of, I think, talking a lot about application of it, but just very simply, it's just like we can only think of one thing, well, a few things at a time. Like you said, working memory.
5 to 8.
5 to 7.
Sorry.
Like mental energy is finite, right? We can't think of everything. We're not a computer,
It's
right?
like an energy bar.
Yeah,
I like thinking of focus not only as where you direct your attention, but focus is actually where you don't direct your attention, right? It's like what's left over is your focus.
And I've got here particular elements. When we think about the mental stack, particular elements are going to be prioritized more than others, right? Depending on the circumstance. So, you know, from my understanding, I think this term kind of originated from fighting games, didn't it? That's where it was thrown around a lot.
Correct, yes.
Do you want to maybe elaborate on that? Because I don't really know much about that.
No.
You don't know anything either?
Absolutely not.
I'm going to do a...
Nathan's the one who can bring up little things and sound like an idiot for us. So come on, Mr. Fighting Games.
Because it's quite binary there, right? Like let's say in a fighting game, because there's like inputs and it's a 1v1, what you're trying to do is trying to overwhelm any person's mental stack by throwing things at them they don't expect. Because if you get into a certain pattern of behavior and then break that, it's like creating patterns and breaking patterns in a way. You know, you throw that extra thing at them and then they will make a mistake or do something.
No, I think you're spot on because in League, the game automatically overwhelms your mental stack. But if you're playing a game where there is only a limited amount of options, right? You have to do things above and beyond to overwhelm, to kind of intentionally, which we are going to talk about, overwhelming the mental stack.
This happens in League too, though, because you imagine I have this vision of like a standard game of League. There's a couple of things that happen pretty similarly in most games. Like junglers are generally full clearing. People are generally bouncing waves. There's a lot of very normal stuff happening. one of the biggest mental stack destroyers, I might be skipping ahead, is like Nico as a champion, right? Nico is the mental stack destroyer as a champion because it's just another variable. It's like I'm managing all these variables very well that I normally know how to do, my CSing, my trading, my jungle tracking, and then the game throws this random one at me and I have to start counting minions on every wave. I press tab to see if Nico's showing on the scoreboard and stuff.
Because you're not used to that in that game. So you'll definitely like die to it 1 or 2
100%.
times and then adapt to it.
It takes learning, yeah.
Because what do? You verse a Nico every like 40 games, you know, like 30 games. I can't remember the last one.
Well, yeah, I verse it. It's pretty common, honestly, from the support position.
Yeah.
So I have developed a better mental stack versus it. Same as Twitch. Like you have to just constantly think that this champion exists in the game. I have to play differently. Those X Factor champions do fuck with your mental stats.
Evelyn.
So I call them minigame champions.
Yeah,
I have a whole term for them. I call them minigame champions. And minigame champions are ones that they play in a super unique way where the game in a way kind of revolves around them and you need to allocate a portion of your mental stack to them all the time.
Yes.
Evelyn post 6. That's why I think Evelyn is one of the best solo queue champs of the game because the moment she gets 6 and you don't have vision on her, she can be anywhere. And every laner needs to think about, Evelyn could be here and I don't know where Evelyn is.
So using that analogy of, talking about fighting games, so if you were saying that fighting games, especially at the highest level, your goal is trying to overwhelm their mental stack. But in League, everyone's permanently fallen over themselves with mental stack.
In the mid game,
just
I was
happening.
in the mid game because I think at the highest levels of laning specifically, right? Yes, there are mini games, or you're trying to do mind games and create patterns and break patterns to overwhelm their mental stack. But for 99.9% of the League journey, yeah, you're right. People are just stumbling over themselves because the mental energy required to be able to CS, jungle track, ward and lean,
think about resets,
be aware of my
tracks,
jungler's location. That alone is too much for most people's mental.
It's like, go, just go even, and you can get to diamond. It's like, well, what the hell does that mean? It's like,
exactly
we know all the skills that go into that. That's more than enough to cluster the average.
I mean, we're talking about some basic things, guys. Like, I don't know if you guys have this in your. Maybe this is a jungle problem. Literally thinking about when their item is, like their next item. That's just even platinum players, emerald players. It's just
happens probably daily in reviews. Daily in reviews. Missing recall timings.
Missing recall timers. That's what we're talking about.
Fighting with 2,000 gold in the pocket.
Everyone knows that, but there's so much going on. The fact that this isn't something that you can solve instantly by silver or bronze.
That's why this explains why the mental stack exists.
Yeah, exactly
because you can fight with 2,000 gold after playing 2,000 games of League. That's how hard the game is.
And you know what's crazy? A concept such as being aware of ultimate cooldowns outside of your own, like being aware of your jungler's ultimate cooldown or someone else in your team's ultimate cooldown, that is advanced.
Yeah, that's advanced. It is advanced.
That's hyper. If you're doing that,
I'm talking about in Diamond Plus.
You're Diamond Plus.
Yep. Yeah.
Instantaneously. That means you have the mental capacity to. If you have the mental capacity to process other people's ultimates, you're automatically diamond for the most part.
Because of all the things you would have had to do before getting to that
exactly
point.
Right. Yeah. And that's something that in isolation is so basic. It's
so
basic. I knocked down guys the ultimate. We can't win this fight. But like, you know what I mean? It's it's that in the culmination. This is why mental stack is so important, which ties into my point here where understanding and respecting the mental stack is actually one of it's like the cornerstone of like really respecting the difficulty of the game. If you don't understand the mental stack, your perception of what League is,
you'll just shit on the game, dude.
Yeah, you'll never respect the game, and you'll never develop a healthy relationship with the game because you're always going to disrespect it.
Yeah, and high elo players are just. This is why high elo players like, it's so easy to climb. I got to like challenger in like a couple of weeks or
in
days.
Season 2 with 30.
But they have no idea the amount of subconscious muscle memory they built to have a free up mental stack to not make those really basic errors, right?
That is exactly right. That is the giant gap with the high elo community, with the lower elo community, is they just completely ignore the fact that they've got 10,000 games in their back pocket and they've played the game for 10 years.
Because you could so easily play League games. Yeah. You can load up a game, queue up, bam, you've got a game under your belt, 20,
I think a big thing with mental stack as well is like, when I think of it, I think a lot about other champions. It's not necessarily about your champion a whole lot of the time. It's like even to get to the stage of trying to fit other things in, you're trying to balance what the other 9 champs in the game do.
It's like about like a Shen ult or something.
Yeah, like other champions' abilities. Like I'm thinking if I'm versing like a Taric and they're channeling their E, I have to know that he's going to E flash me. You know what I mean? Like that's something that I have to have room to think of that. So I already have to know how to click all my buttons. That's just a prerequisite.
That's a given.
It's a given, yeah.
So... Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, you sort of, I guess that's where you like adjusting your, like what you need to think about in like loading screen or champs.
Priming
like,
the mental stack.
Yep, we'll definitely get to that.
Maybe we'll
exactly right.
skipping ahead, yeah.
So I've got here how you allocate your mental resources varies massively depending on the circumstance, right? So when you guys think about your own gameplay, how you're thinking, like what's actually in your mind at a given moment, let's say in the early game at the 6-minute mark, is likely going to be completely different to what it would be like in the middle of a team fight at 30 minutes, or how what variables you would be considering and how, or what's occupying your mind at 37 minutes in the game. So like I think when you talk about mental stack, it's not like it's this fixed thing. This is exactly what you should be thinking about for the whole game. It's going to change. It's going to vary. And what that basically means is that your ability to alter the mental stack and rejuggle what you should be thinking about depends on your ability to read the map. Right? So when any of you guys, all of us, when we load into a game and we can look at the map state, we can look at the scenario, and we can perfectly allocate the energy exactly where it needs to go to optimally make the best quality decision and execute. How wild is that when you really think about it? Like one moment, Nathan, you'd be thinking, okay, I got to think about win cons, I got to think about my laner and wave states. Another moment, you're thinking about, okay, my camps are coming up, but then
enemy jungle shows on the map. I got to trade now. Trade on this other map.
You know how to completely juggle and change what you're actually processing, what information you're processing to what degree. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, again, I like inverting your points, Curtis. I would say that the actual skill is knowing what not to focus on because it's about signal versus noise, right? We're looking at the map. We know which information to completely disregard. It's like, oh, that jungler just level 3 gank top. I don't care about that. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, just keep focusing on what's actually important. And I think that like reading the map is definitely a really important part of it. Champion reference points also help when it comes to like
a huge foundation.
Yeah.
Knowing what your champ does in every comp and in every situation of the game that's always, I guess, what you rely on. You bring it back down to it. If things start getting overwhelming, you just bring it back to my champion reference points.
Because that's like it's like the way to calibrate your mental stack, isn't it? It's like if I don't know what to think about or what not to think about, at minimum, if I know my reference points, I could just bring it back to this equilibrium. And it's like, okay, do I have my R? Where's my jungler? Boom, boom, boom. Like something like that. That's like the resting
Yeah,
point.
I do it all the time. Like I'm playing a shit ton of Kaiser at the moment. Like at least once a game, I'll just think to myself, just wait for Q upgrade, just remind myself of that mental stack, that reference point. I played hundreds of games, so it's still useful.
It's such like a deep breath moment when you do that.
Yeah, it's
like, all right, let's just relax. There's so much shit's going on in the game. Oh my God, we're down like, maybe 4 or 5 kills, but you just bring it back to that. Okay, I'm confident I can win the game in the mid game.
Correct, yes.
Okay, so we're going to move on to priming a mental stack. This is something we talk a lot about. So what do you view, Charles, as an AD carry? This is a big deal. Maybe walk us through how you think about priming mental stack practically, both as a coach and a player.
I'll go player first. So I think they're kind of tied together. So as you're approaching a fight, usually in a lull state, this is when you prime your mental stack. You do it during a lull state. Lull states being like when you're in base or when you're running to a play, after you've cleared a wave, just a period of downtime in the game where you have time to actually think to calibrate your mental stack. You want to think about threats is a big thing I think about. It's like probably the biggest one when it comes to team fighting, right? You take a look at the enemy team comp, you identify who's strong on the enemy team. What abilities do they have that I need to think about? And your goal is to think about a limited number. You can't track everything, right? There's maybe 2-3 things on the enemy team that you really want to think about when it comes to fighting, right? So like, I don't know, Jarvan EQ, pretty big one, constantly comes up in games. Nautilus hook, right? I wouldn't really think about Jarvan ulti or Nautilus ulti too much. It's just those 2 things. I can maybe dodge around them a little bit. If the enemy have an Akali, I would maybe consider like being flanked a little bit. I think, okay, I want to try and front to back this. I need to get eyes on that champion. I'm going to use my blue trinket. I'm going to try and position behind my team. So it's just taking the time before a fight starts to just look at the enemy comp and think about what tools do they have and what the hell am I going to do about it? That's how I prime the mental stack.
What about visualization, Charles? Do you visualize like these situations?
Do I visualize?
I mean, it's obviously hard to say like a Jarvan EQ. You obviously know what that looks like, and fights play out. Maybe not too much. Maybe it's like in terms of how lane phase plays out or something like that. Like I like priming the mental stack and visualization go hand in hand with me. Especially, it's very effective when it comes to when I have a game where I don't anticipate or visualize the Graves is going to invade me on this situation. I'm so much quicker and more confident that I can adapt to those situations. But if I don't know where that's coming, that's where my mental stack obviously gets overwhelmed. So, but I literally visualize them as like, I'm ready for like to get off the gromp, but I know exactly where I'm going.
Interesting.
And I'll think about that literally before it's even happened, or it might not even happen that game.
That's cool. I mean, I'm not really a visual person like that, I guess, but yeah, bot lane weird stuff happens level 1. Like if I'm versing like an Ignite Shaco level 1 with Hail of Blades, I'll I'll know that he's going to queue on my head level 1 and start bashing me, so I'll
can,
play
like,
around
see
that.
that, yeah.
But
I
no,
mean, he might not
I
do
don't
it.
try and think about it.
Oh, you don't-
I
okay.
just I just use my memory, I guess, because I have to make the mistake. So I've made the mistake before. I remember that mistake, not necessarily visually, but I just feel that it's going to happen, you know?
Interesting. What about you, Curtis? Visualization.
Yeah, I don't visualize.
You don't visualize?
No. In game, I don't.
Jungle's so slow. I don't have the luxury
Yeah,
of visualizing.
I think
I'm
in
doing
ju-
shit, you know?
I think the jungle
You're
you kind of
probably
can, right? Because you have you're on your camp. You can kind of you're not fully your mental stack's not occupied with fighting someone.
Yeah.
So you probably have the luxury to do that because it does sound like a luxury, you know.
Nathan on Volibear just hitting the Gromp.
It's so easy
He's
to
not
get
even
games,
focusing. He's literally thinking about a potential. as he's
Yeah,
hitting the Gromp.
yeah, dude. I go through all the 3 different scenarios. Like, if the enemy jungler shows here, I'm instantly ready to go to the other side of the
Yeah.
map. If I'm thinking about how long it's going to take me to look for a counter gank. I'm thinking about, how the fight might play out.
Trying to
No,
posture.
but we should talk about that because you're not thinking about everything. You're just probably thinking about the top 3
Options.
most
Common
like,
options,
yeah.
likely options,
and
that's
that's
right.
based off your experience,
Yeah.
right? So in a way, if we're going to go deeper, you're priming your mental stack with highly likely possible scenarios. Just like Charlie was talking about level 1 with the Shaco. If you're versing a Shaco, there is a highly probable future that Shaco's going to try and queue on your head level 1 and get a chunk, right? So like
For
you're not
jungle-
thinking about everything.
Yeah, for jungle, it's really just a lot of the time just 2 options. Like, the jungler's around that location, he might either gank bot or mid, or he might not show up at all and just give it. And like, I'm prepared for sort of I've started to think about both those
But
scenarios.
notice what you're talking about, right? You're talking
Giles.
here about anticipation, right? That's what
Anticipation's so important in League.
So this is the thing, right? With priming the mental stack, any time that you can, again, if we think about what priming the mental stack really is, it's about how do we make it such that we are what's it called? Making everything possible an element of anticipation rather than reaction. That's kind of
we're
what you're
actually
doing.
making it easier for our future self to make a decision or execute on something.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're doing the work now,
Yes.
so it's automatic later.
Yes.
We're literally loading bullets into our gun so that when we arrive at the battle, we don't have to reload. That's
Yes.
kind of how I do it.
Technology, yeah.
And so this goes hand in hand with champion mastery, doesn't it? Because then you know what to look for. It's like, oh, I'm playing Kai'Sa, I need to be thinking about these things. I'm
Yeah.
playing volley, I need to be thinking about those things. So there is obviously the concept of priming the mental stack is I guess number 1. But then you need to know, okay, based off my champion and even this game, what champions are in this game, what should I be thinking about? What should I not be thinking about? And I think that's why mental stack priming is not, obviously it's simple in premise, but again, the execution is a different ball game.
There's a lot of game sense that goes into it. A lot of game sense.
Yes. So now we're getting into overloading a mental stack. Okay. So I want to start with, an overloaded mental stack. We throw this term around a lot. What does an overloaded mental stack even mean?
What do you think, Curtis? You're asking all the questions.
I mean, I'm the host.
Curtis
I don't-
is the
I don't-
host, yeah.
Overloaded mental stack. I mean, what you're doing is you're constantly trying to force your opponent to use their brain. That's what I'm thinking about. You're making them make choices. You're making them second guess what they thought was going to happen. Because everyone's got that idea of how the game should go. What you're doing if you're trying to overload the enemy's mental stack is you're kind of maybe questioning whether we're on that path or not. We're going to deviate from that a little bit, and just kind of, I think just pressuring your opponent, putting your character on their screen, dealing damage to them, things like this. Like I'm thinking of like a Caitlyn just pressuring me when I go for last hits. That's overloading my mental stack. If I have to deal with that, it's gonna be slightly harder for me to track my jungler. It's gonna be slightly harder for me to position around the enemy support if I've got this guy shooting me in the face the whole lane.
I don't think of it in terms of, again, it's a jungler speaking
There you
here.
go. You don't get shot, so you don't know what it's like.
Yeah, I'm not in battle all the time, right? So I don't need to think about that. I don't really have an option to overwhelm my jungler's mental stack. Like, an overloaded mental stack is just poor planning or poor anticipation to me. If I'm in a situation where I'm not have a general idea what could be happening in the game, overwhelm mental stack, then it's too late. It's like end of review borderline.
I have a different position on the jungle thing.
Because when I think about my cleanest gameplay, I'm aware of every single thing that's happening or could happen. All my, it's very clean, especially like those games where some games are just that simple. It's just full clear top to bot, kill bot, full clear top to bot, kill bot, full clear top to bot, dive. Like sometimes those games happen,
It's like Dante's gameplay right there.
Yeah, generally some games like that can happen.
No, but look, if you're getting to your
Jungler.
camps on spawn, imagine the Schönfire clip from
Yeah.
the Tempo episode
Yeah.
we did, where he just did like a double full clear, did dragon, recall, went to
So he
rock.
skipped dragon.
Yeah,
That was the
that's
skip
right. But
dragon.
when he got back to dragon
Yeah,
after a
that's
second
right.
clear, right?
Yeah.
That puts so much pressure on the enemy. That enemy's mental stack is overwhelmed. That enemy is
I don't know. How do I know that though?
Because you would know the feeling. I've had the feeling if you try and force ganks as a jungler and then the enemy is full clearing their camps, you feel pressured. You feel like your mental, you have to look for more stuff.
I think generally most players don't. But if you're, let's say people have some narratives where if you're against like a Karthus or something doing that.
Yeah. What if you rock up to your Raptors and they're gone, dude? Like, doesn't that feel?
Well, that's again poor anticipation, poor.
But
poor
once
planning.
you see them gone, doesn't that overwhelm your
End of
mental
review.
stack?
It's gone. End of
So you
review.
don't even try after that point.
Yeah, you just no.
You're being exposed, dude. Of course you do. What are you talking about? You need to.
no. The
I'm gonna stop trying to jungle. Whatever.
it's just
Hit the.
So what you're saying, Nathan, is that an overwhelmed mental stack shouldn't happen as a jungler, because if it does happen, that means that you've already
that's
failed.
the learning objective.
That
Yeah.
is that is it. Like
Yeah.
that's but
What about level 1 invades? What about if I'm starting Raptors and the Kane invades me on the Raptors? That makes me make a choice, or do you say?
Oh yeah, those are very overwhelmed mental stack situations. But I wouldn't even say it's an overwhelmed mental stack. It's just a narrative where people think they have to instantly run into the other jungle. Like,
No, you've just got to go to your wolves.
Yeah,
or whatever.
or just go against
because
level 1.
the way I think you're viewing it, Nathan, right, is that in the jungle you should always know what the plan B is.
Yeah.
Even if the Kane does that, it's not that complicated
If
in
it's
your
late,
mind. You
it's
should
too
already
late
know.
because you think that you're like moving around. Like you have to physically click. If you're just like inefficient a little bit, click like 5 seconds that direction. Most people just commit to it, right? You're not going to go backtrack, and 5 seconds is a huge amount of time. So it's too late. Like a lot of the time, it's just too late as a jungler.
Right, I see.
Otherwise, you have to backtrack like 5 seconds.
So it's
which
not.
feels
So
inefficient.
you're saying that it's just, even though it can happen, it's not really a big deal in the jungle role specifically.
No.
There's just other problems.
Yeah,
There's
there's
bigger,
other
bigger fish
aspects.
to fry.
Yeah, it's bigger fish to fry.
But you think of overload mental stacks though when it comes to ganking, don't you? With laners, if you're looking at a laner and they're like heavy trading and they're like, you're thinking, oh,
Yeah,
can I,
you remember you
that's
gank
right.
over wards.
Yeah,
you already talked about
that's
this, right?
Yeah, I used to think that you couldn't gank over wards, but you can because the enemy laners are overwhelmed. It's like, yeah, so yeah, you're right. In terms of ganking, I really think about overwhelmed mental stack where they have to think about a last hit. Obviously, that's obviously a common one. Or they're not even thinking about me as the jungler. They're thinking about how do they not die to the Blitzcrank hook or the Kiana engage or something like that, right? So,
I mean, speaking of skill shots, right? Imagine you're playing Volibear and you're going for a gank. No, actually, screw Volibear. I don't want to talk about that champion.
Yeah.
Lee Sin. We're
Lee
going
Sin,
for a
yeah.
Lee Sin gank.
Yeah.
Simply walking at the opponent, ward hopping in range, and holding your Q.
yeah, we're talking micro there
That's
now.
micro mental stack.
Overwhelmed
Yeah,
mental
it
stack,
is.
which is what laners would be doing all
Yep,
the time.
that's
But
right.
junglers still have
That's
to do it
our
with
version
ganks.
of that.
You know,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
little tiny version, your one skill shot every 3 minutes where you get to play the game.
You're one fight every 2
I was
minutes.
joking. It's just
No, dude, it's good. I hate. That's why when the jungle role, dude, I thought it was broken by concept
Yeah.
that I didn't have to fight every 2 minutes.
correct.
I do want to talk about overwhelmed mental stack. Okay, so let's talk about what happens when someone has an overloaded mental stack.
They're easy to gank.
Okay.
They,
What else?
Their vision becomes narrow. They stop intaking information. They can only focus on the here and now.
They ruin the team fight. I think about my AD carry who's worried about too many threats. They're just dead.
It's funny you mentioned that metaphor of like the what's it called?
So the horse blinders is what I'm thinking, or like
Right.
yeah, zooming
Like
in.
a
I guess.
camera, because someone in my
Yeah.
one of my coaching used, he said like a camera, like where it's like a very narrow
The aperture
The
becomes
aperture,
right,
yeah. And he's like
yeah.
when you are anticipating things or you have an expanded mental stack, you're broadening the picture.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you have more context.
I actually literally do this technique in my coaching sessions where I'll be like, this is what you're thinking about this in this moment, just in terms of map awareness. And I'll just like get my epic pen. And
Dude,
just-
I do the exact
and
same
just-
thing with the
and
black
just
epic pen.
scribble.
Yeah,
And I
scribble.
just-
Wow, that's so
like
smart.
this is
I like that.
This is just
Yeah.
to really show like this is literally how do you play the game when this is all you can see or thinking about.
I do it when there's like a low HP champion. I'll rub out everything except for the low HP champion. I'm like, this is what you're
It's
seeing.
like- it's
All
like-
you see is
it's
the
like,
HP bar.
I see. It's like the monkey brain.
Monkey
I
see,
see.
monkey, yeah.
I see low HP person. I go.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, I like
Yeah.
that. Okay, so when we think about overloaded mental stack, there are two elements, right? There is you getting your mental stack overloaded, right? Someone overwhelming your mental stack, right? Maybe they're getting in your face, they're pressuring you, things like that. But then you can also do things to overload their mental stack. So you mentioned this at the beginning of your before, Charlie, and I want to really elaborate on this because I think this is something that the average League of Legends player does not understand or can't conceptualize, right? Because okay, so AJ recently has been talking about him on his learning journey, talking about LeBlanc. And he's learning LeBlanc, right? Tim is a big LeBlanc player. And something
Mysterious, Coach Mysterious.
Coach Mysterious. And LeBlanc is a champion that... Because I actually played a game of LeBlanc with him
played a
live
game of
coaching me
LeBlanc?
yesterday.
Really?
Just out of interest. And what ended up happening...
Coach Curtis and LeBlanc. That's a sight to see.
Yeah, what is
right?
that?
It was hilarious. I was actually versing another MLA member. That's
No
why I did
way.
it. Yeah, he
Who
was on
was
the
it?
other
Who was it?
teams. Hannibal. You ever seen
yeah.
him?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was so funny. It was a funny
great.
thing. Anyway, and so what AJ was saying is like what LeBlanc is really good at is like occupying people's mental stack in a fight. Because if you think about it, if LeBlanc's coming in from the side, even though she can't do a lot of things individually, but when she's, when you're coming into a fight from the side, everyone shits themselves. Everyone's thinking, oh my God, LeBlanc's going, we've got a CC, she occupies so much of the carries in people's mental stack. In a lot of fights, you can create a lot of space. You go in with your W, you're fishing for a bit of a poke. The jungler's now panicking, thinking about peeling your AD carry. The support's probably throwing shit at you. You pop back to your distortion. You've baited out all these skill shots. You've occupied all this mental stack. You may even have burnt a summoner. And so there's certain champions in the game that are they operate via occupying the enemy's mental stack, creating space. And so something that I see with specifically diamond laners and what prevents them from pushing to master tier and beyond is that they don't understand the idea of taking space and overwhelming someone's mental stack. I'm like, you're not going to kill them. You're not even going to do anything. You're just going to put your body there, pretend you're going to do something, and then you're having all this impact that you would never normally have. That may prevent them from getting prio. It may force them to use your abilities and waste an ability. It may narrow their focus so they don't see what's happening elsewhere in the river.
Invisible stuff.
It's all this invisible stuff, and it actually ties into the mental stack. You're overloading their mental stack, and I think this is why champions such as LeBlanc are very complicated, because it's not just about, oh, there's a carry, I'm going to kill that carry, because that's not going to happen in a lot of games. Carries are not just going to randomly get caught off guard by you.
Ari ult is another one where I see people lose their mind. Like Ari, because you think, wait, is that the second R? Is that the third R? Like, or Ari's R, and what does that mean for the fight?
Or she holds a charm even.
Yeah,
she's going to go, when's she going to charm?
Ari Ari can be, has very clear weaknesses, but everyone plays into her strengths. I had a big problem with this.
I tend to agree. I think she can be
the worst champ in the game, right? If people play against her
she's
properly.
so linear, I feel.
Yeah, that's the thing. But people she's like super. It's like super OP.
People do panic.
Yeah, people panic.
I think junglers specifically.
Yeah, maybe it's junglers. I think it's junglers, right? Because they're ganking.
They're ganking because she has mobility. She has CC. Yeah. It's really annoying to deal with. Like, because a lot of junglers are kind of like they're like one and done. Like they go in and then like Whereas Ari just avoids that, and then now what? What are you going to do?
But if you're evaluating to Victor's just always poking.
Yeah, they're just poking you from a distance.
Yeah, you are right. That's interesting.
So yeah, I just think that this is a concept. The whole think about when you're if someone's watching this, how can they what can they take away from this segment? Think about the moments where you feel very overwhelmed. What was the enemy doing? What was happening? And start to just take note of that. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I felt really, really overwhelmed in this scenario. And yeah, I think there's... Yeah, because you can appreciate that idea, that concept a bit more.
Yeah, and then you would sort of look in the review or the improvement process there. You'll be thinking about, what did I not anticipate in this situation?
Exactly right. What do I need to learn more about this scenario? How could I have better handled it? And you're just familiarizing yourself with that's how that works. Okay, maybe I didn't need to panic, or maybe this is how I could have operated better in that scenario.
Yeah, I would sort of list a bunch of things in role. I think it'd be practical. So like the support, something that can overwhelm the enemy's mental stack as a support is if you just walk into the bush and just sweep it and then sit there in the fog. I think that's really overwhelming. Running up the river and just like putting your pink in near mid. Now the enemy mid doesn't know where you are. You can be both mid and bot. Massively overwhelming both mental stacks of the AD and the mid laner. Top lane, proxying. I think that completely ruins the whole mental stack of the enemy team because they've just got this weird like mosquito in the corner of the screen just annoying everyone. Yeah. Completely.
And everyone's pinging you and like your teammates pinging you also overload your mental stack as well.
I think like a smolder free farming ruins the mental stack of a lot of people in the game.
Yeah,
Junglers
that's like
lose
jungle
their
for Karthus and Shyvana and stuff like that.
These people lose their marbles. So something as simple as just scaling actually does affect mental stack quite a bit, honestly. Like, this guy's free scaling. What the hell's going on?
People get angry about that.
You know what another one is that we've never spoken about is stage 4 issues in people typing. If someone types something, right, and spam pings you, and now you're thinking, fuck, this is what that person is thinking, and you're thinking, this guy's an idiot, and blah, blah, blah. Your mental stack is now occupied.
Think about 100%. How unproductive that is for winning the game in League of
Legends.
You're losing the game.
Think about your mental stack is the most valuable resource in the entire game.
And you're thinking about what someone thinks about you.
You're wasting it with some bullshit.
Well, this is one of the biggest reasons why we are a proponent of muting all. Is not because of like the empathy and like the being nice, like that's one part of it, but mostly it's just because we want to be selfish. We want to vote our
Cut the
attention.
fat.
Exactly. Something I've actually been doing recently as well, might be controversial. I've been muting pings as well. I mute
Tim's
chat.
been talking about that, actually.
I actually got it from Tim.
Yeah.
Like, mute pings and chat. Because I just wanted to limit my focus to my champion. and just focus on fighting, and it's really
Yeah, I'm actually tempted to get
You
into
should
that.
have a practice.
Junglers
Dude, my
need to.
skirmishing has genuinely
Because I've been
improved.
gaslit so much recently, and I'm always thinking, fuck, if I didn't get pinged out, I knew how to play it. I didn't need anyone else to tell me how to play
Think about
it.
how often you actually need information from your teammates.
If you're a competent
No,
player,
I'm saying you. Think about how
Oh,
often
me.
you. Very rarely. So what
Very,
the,
very,
so what the
very,
hell are the
very
pings
rarely.
doing? You know, like what
I'm
are
already
they doing?
tracking the support. I already know where the jungler is. I actually don't need it.
And if you're not, well, it's, again,
Yeah.
kind of tangenting a bit, but you should get punished for
Yes.
that, so you can learn.
I
think
want to learn that. I
so-
shouldn't rely on anyone else pinging shit anyway.
So let's have a crack. I've
Yeah,
been doing it
I'm
for like
down.
a week.
I'm
Let's
keen.
keep doing it.
Yeah, League of Legends is an information-based game.
It is.
And the more information you have, the better decisions you can make. And that's where people fall into the trap of like comms and duo queue and stuff, because you
Yes.
can learn this yourself. You should.
What is-
because even then you can't even rely on it because your words are too slow. The game moves too
Because
fast.
by the way, that's why duo queue is sexy for people initially, because it
covers up my
it-
weakness of
It
information.
helps with the
Yeah.
mental
It's
stack
just-
because someone else is giving you information, but it's a band-aid for the mental stack. You're not really
Massive Band-Aid.
developing your
No.
mental stack. You are just putting a band-aid solution on how do I cover my inferior mental stack now.
You're also taking the information for gospel. You're not actually passing it yourself. You're just thinking, oh, he's told me that is true. But how many times have you just been wrong? Like how many times when we play Clash where we've just like gaslit each other like false information
Yeah.
about something.
enemy junglers top.
But yeah, but on the topic of like muting everyone else's name, what's the Tywin Lannister quote? Nathan, I know you're watching Game of Thrones at the moment.
What's the time when Lannister quote?
The wolf doesn't concern himself
Yes,
with,
with the opinions of the sheep.
Of the
yes.
sheep. That's the
the
mindset with mute all. Tywin Lannister mute
That's
all.
the TV movie show to the
Yep.
day for the Broken by Concept podcast, and that is the intro scene for. Just go on YouTube and watch it. It's very good.
It's a good quote. All right, so we're going to get into developing your mental stack. There are a few things we can do to develop our mental stack. The first one, obviously,
Come on, champ mastery.
Get good.
I was
yeah,
wrong.
I've got that here.
Get
Champion
good.
mastery, right? Role mastery, champion mastery. At the end of the
Limit
day,
your pool. Limiting your champion pool. Play only a few things. Get really good at them. They become muscle memory. All of a sudden, the world's your OC. You can think about other shit. Pretty straightforward.
just reps. I've just got it.
Yep.
Reps, intentional repetitions. The
Yep.
more you play the game with intention, the more you're going to develop your mental stack.
Because the more situations you will see and be exposed to, like with the jungle tracking, jungle pathing stuff, and then you'll add them to your little repertoire. Oh, I understand that now. So when it happens next time, it's not novel. Because I think that something that does mess with the mental stack, which I forgot to bring up, is novel experiences fuck with your mental stack. Something that you're seeing for the first time.
Yes.
Especially for like, because I know we often talk about ourselves, but for the average League of Legends player who's like below Emerald, they will see things for the first time,
yeah.
often, all the time. Like, oh, so I had someone today, they were Diamond player, because Morgana mid's just come into the meta. It's like, I didn't know what Morgana mid really did. I'm not versing Morganas that do that much damage, so bam, that fucked me. Now I have to learn that, and I put that in my repertoire. Next time it's going to be easier. People see new shit every day in League.
I think people will be quite upset, Curtis, that you just got reps there. It's like, yeah, no shit, play the game, you know, you get better. But there's also like intensity to it and all that. Magnus Carlsen has like a famous quote. Oh, I can't remember what it is. Again, I just butcher people's quotes on this podcast. So I'm not even going to bother. But it's along the lines of he's just seen so many situations. He's not like this genius, like, you know, obviously he's very smart, right? But people think he's like the second coming of Jesus with genius, but he actually says, I've seen this before. Like,
What about
he's just studied for so long.
Dota documentary, the TI9 documentary we watched, where that guy, he said he hit 20,000 hours in Dota at the event. He's like, how do I lose? He's like, I've just played 28,000 hours in this game. How am I
I've
gonna
seen
lose?
every situation.
I forget which player it was, but it was
That's
like
awesome, dude. I love it.
Utmost competence.
Yeah.
Because confidence comes from repetitions, right?
Yeah. Kobe Bryant also has another quote like quote that as well.
But you don't know it.
But I do know. Just type it on Google.
Stop telling people to Google things. You should know the quote.
It's like get off
You're
this.
so lazy.
Yeah.
Get off this podcast
so go
and
Google
go watch
something.
something else.
Get your phone out. You should have a laptop. You should be Googling.
No, but the
I
reason,
should, yes, that's what I need.
no, but I think that's a good point, Nathan. But the reason I put reps is because you can't shortcut mental stack. You know what I mean? There is no other way to develop a mental stack outside of, you know, intentional repetitions. You can review all you want, but if you don't actually have a tangible feeling of the game in this scenario, then it doesn't matter. It's going to go in one ear and out the other. I have got here though, making sense of the scenarios in the review with the micro macro framework, and this is why you see players who can have 10,000 hours of League.
Yeah.
But they're
it's
still
like the intensity thing and all that.
It's like I had a review this morning
Intention.
with I'm gonna shout out their name is Mage. That's their Discord ID.
A
and
mage in Botland Academy.
What was that?
Botland
mage.
Academy.
Midland Academy.
Yeah, sorry. Did I say
Botland Academy.
I'll just keep going.
Lux player. Anyway, they had a lot of repetitions, a lot of champion mastery, a lot of reps. So if you would think on paper, they've taken all the boxes, right? They've got all the recipes of success.
Sorry.
Yet they were still had an overwhelmed mental stack and couldn't do basic anticipation of like how a champion works, right? They even played versus they were Lux main, who also had a lot of repetition on the way, but they were getting hit by every Hui ability. And the whole learning, I said, you're just not thinking, you're not allocating your energy in the right way. They had the mental stack capacity. They had all the repetitions in the world, but they're not allocating the resources. The allocation.
People need to know where to direct their attention. That's the learning. I see this all the time in reviews as well. It's like, I love that a lot of the time, people in our academies, they're pretty thoughtful about the game. I generally know they're having a crack, but sometimes they're just looking at the wrong things. Like I was thinking about this. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Nice hypothesis. You should probably think about this instead, because this is more important. It's like they miss big things. Like one thing I always notice is like they have their combat with a top laner for the first time and they just don't know if a top laner is fed or something. And I just didn't see that bit of information. It's like, well, as you're deploying out of base, that's literally one of the biggest things I'd be looking for, but they're thinking about something usually a bit more complicated. It's actually the simple things people miss, I find. They're trying to overcook. They're like, oh, I'm going to trade this objective for this wave. I'm going to catch this thing and then I'm going to take Raptors. It's like, mate, you just didn't know that Darius was 5-0. It's like,
and in order to get better at this, the mental stack allocation, that's where the micro macro framework comes into play, right? That's why you get into post game, be like, well, I had this grand plan here, and I just get hit in the face by an EQ on Hui, and I get one shot. Okay, well, that's the learning.
Yep.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, I should be a little bit more careful of that. That's where you develop situational awareness.
Yeah, both in the macro and the micro sense, I think, because micro helps in terms of like tracking abilities from mental stack priming, and then macro is like, well, I didn't know that guy had no ulti, or I didn't know this objective was up, all that stuff that also affects mental stack.
Exactly right. I had another one here, which is kind of riffing off what you guys said before about reviewing things that catch you off guard. Because Nathan, you were saying before, when you play your best game of League of Legends,
nothing catches me off guard.
Nothing catches you off guard. Yeah. Every single thing is dialed in, right? So the way you develop, or to figure out the chinks in your armor, if you will, like the where your mental stack is failing you. Again, as cliche as it sounds, following your emotions, using your emotions and feeling as a guideline to figure out where is it that you're feeling overwhelmed? Where is it? What is catching you off guard? That is what you
felt
need.
Shit.
What felt shit? That's the hack.
That's a big thing when I learned Wing Edition assessment, because some people think that I've sat there and studied like all these VODs. No, I've actually played the game and just curious and ask every single situation. This is how I thought this lane played out. It didn't. Was that random or was it actually consistent? And if I see that again and again, then I can start coming up with a conclusion around how that matchup might work. For example, a Samira Nautilus, yes, it's quite strong in the early stages of the game, but from observing that matchup a lot, the Nautilus and Samira are going to overplay sometimes. So if I get in a position to counter gank, bam, I can turn the matchups and my Nami, Smolder, whatever can start scaling up, and then the game's quite good. So it's being curious, playing with intention, not just spamming 20,000 games here and just, hoping that suddenly you just get this crazy magical knowledge.
There was a question in the school community about learning objectives in the mental stack. And, to kind of TLDR from Peter here, he was kind of talking about, I want to free up my mental stack so I can focus on in-game learning objectives. And so I wanted to highlight this because this is why we moved away as coaches from in-game learning objectives. There's only, the only in-game learning objectives we set for the most part are either very, very, very simple or they're within LoL states themselves, right? So, we used to, I can't speak for you guys, but for me, I would overwhelm people and make people worse because I would set them these sophisticated in-game learning objectives. Their mental stack would implode, and there's no way that they're possibly gonna.
They would just lose games.
They're not going to be able to improve at it. So this is why most of your learning objectives have to be post-game rather than in-game, to allow for your mental stack to actually play the game itself. So I think it's important, like how learning objectives and mental stack kind of work together.
Yeah, the way you should think about it is the game is like you're doing the test, and all you should do is perform to the best of your ability, and then after you do the test, that's when you check your work.
You find the gaps.
And you find exactly right.
All right, so we're going to move on to some uncomfortable topics. Okay? So, do you believe some players just develop a mental stack faster than others based off gaming background? Is that a thing? Or do people just have a more sophisticated mental stack in general, or do you think it's an even playing field?
Yeah, I think people learn faster than others. I always say that I think I'm a bit of a slow learner.
So I would actually argue that the reason, so I think I'm a fast learner, and I think a lot of the reason that is because I approach things very, I go wide and then deep as well. I played every role in the game. I think my mental stack is pretty good because I have a really good understanding of every champion, but I've also coached teams and done a bunch of other stuff, which is, I don't think it's natural though. I think it's just effort. That's just where I've put my attention over my league career is I've just literally I've probably gone wider than most people ever. But you've gone very deep on one thing.
Yeah.
So that's why when you have to venture out of that comfort zone, it's hard to pick stuff up.
That's right. It's like I struggled to learn top lane.
But I picked up top lane pretty quickly because I had experience to draw on from playing top and watching top and just gathering info.
Do you think certain games would develop a mental stack more than others as a gaming background?
I think any game played at a high competitive level, because having I know what it feels like to be hyper efficient. You sort of going back to what you say, it's you know what to not, if I'm getting good at a game, I already know sort of what I need to focus on, things that feel uncomfortable, things that I feel like I can tell are really important aspects of the game, purely just from game sense and just from feeling. I think it's feeling and learning. I don't know. I'm just going everywhere with this point.
It's a hard question. I don't know.
I'm
I don't know.
skanking you. Yeah, I don't know either.
It's tough. I can't really speak about the differences of other high-level games very confidently. I guess fighting games.
But you do know that, from my experience, a lot of people that have played competitive games a lot, PC games specifically, they have a much easier time learning League.
But that could
just,
it's what came first, the chicken or the egg, though. Are those players just better at performing at the game so that they can free up the mental stack?
Or they just play a lot because that's their identity as well.
I was just going to say, are they better at the mental stack? Or are they better at the execution? Because execution unlocks mental stack and mental stack unlocks execution. You know, they actually go hand in hand, right? So which one are the people with the gaming background better at?
Yeah.
I would assume just the execution. And if you get really good at execution fast, you have mental stack freed up.
Yeah. Yeah,
that would be my hypothesis.
I was anticipating a critique about this episode saying, well, guys, why do you need to talk about mental stack if you're just going to naturally develop it anyway? So is there any validity in that premise?
No,
There's no need to know what exists anyway.
No, because you need to. We said that in the early episode. You said that where you need to know it exists so you can respect the game. So you're not flaming your teammates and saying this guy sucks here, or having some empathy for your teammates. And me as a jungler understanding why they lost that matchup or why they got ganked, even though the jungler walked over the ward. It's a huge part of humanizing players and thinking that we're humans, we're not robots. I think it's so important.
And you can exploit it.
Yeah, you exploit it. You become a way more deadly player when you understand the mental stack. So 100% you need to know this. This should be the first. This is 101, man. Give this people, give it to your nan. Mental stack episode.
That's why there is a section in our free climbing masterclass on school, wtl.lol/school, on the mental stack. We have a whole section on that topic because we think it is a fundamental. If you're going to talk about fundamentals of the game, I don't think the fundamentals are 3-wave crashing or any bullshit like that. It's fucking mental stack. That is a fundamental to understand.
It's the core foundation of League of Legends.
What about developing the mental stack not really being the hard part? It's more about where you direct your energy, where you direct your focus. What do you think is that true or false, do you think?
Where you direct your focus.
So we spoke about before, the premise of is developing your mental stack, in terms of anticipation. And then there's also another level of understanding where to allocate your energy within a mental stack. What do you think is the hardest part of mental stack development?
I guess where to direct your attention. Yeah.
Why is that? Why is that harder, do you think?
Oh, I think just for League specifically, there's just so much going on, People might over-index in certain things that actually aren't winning them games. I have people, junglers just thinking about these really weird things. We're talking about, dude, don't even think about that here, dude. Can we just hit our camps and look for maybe a dive or the next objective? And there's just this crazy things going on in their mind in the game.
Yeah, because people climb in weird ways. And it's what got you here won't get you there. A lot of people climb to they can get emerald and stuff, just viewing the game in this weird way. With a very narrow mental stack, just being good at a few things. And then overcoming that and reallocating your energy towards what in the game is important. like win condition assessment, learning what other champions do, being able to discard info which isn't important. I think all of that is, that's probably the harder part. And I think if you do that, then it actually removes the need for a wider mental stack, because I would say,
yes, that's right. Because you had to like your huge wide approach was just throw enough shit at a wall. Eventually, you sort of knew what. But because if I go more deep, then I'm gonna be able to start cutting the fat maybe a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There'd be less excess.
Yeah.
Like you don't actually need. Because think about it. The goal isn't to have a mental stack big enough to intake every single bit or pixel on the screen. The goal is both. It's to expand your mental stack to the point where it's manageable, but also limit the amount of information you need to put in it. That's what creates a good mental stack. It's both. It's got capacity, but it also has like focus. I think that's key.
Yeah, and that's proven in like a lot of pro players and stuff. It's like you can maybe there's like that Corky Azir meta or whatever. People get really good at them. Maybe it disappears for 6 months, 7 months, and then they have to rebuild some of that mental stack back again. Even though they had all that knowledge, they understand it. They need to rebuild it because they haven't played it for ages.
Yes, and not only will you see those players get worse at their champions, they will somehow just get worse at side laning or somehow get worse at TP usage. And that's not because their TP usage got worse, it's because their mental stack now has to go back to their champion. So it's like people playing champions they don't know how to play and then getting worse at fundamental skills explains the mental stack perfectly, doesn't it?
It does.
Love it. And the last uncomfortable question here is, do certain champions or roles require less mental stack development?
Yeah, 100%. That's how when I'm doing, like when the Jungle Academy guides, we have like a difficulty level. And a lot of the time that I, think about what goes onto an easier end, like for example, I just did Volibear. Volibear is like a 2 or 3 out of 10 because Volibear doesn't require much mental stack to clear your camps, and gank execution, you just have an EQ combo. You're not like a Nidalee or a Talia or a Kindred or something like that. So yeah, there's definitely champion. Annie, I would say. Annie's a controversial one. Maybe I shouldn't say Annie. Malzahar might
So
be
champions
one.
with... Yeah, so
you're coming at it from the execution simple equals mental stack easy.
Yes.
Yeah, but it can also be viewed the other way, where it's like the mental stack itself is actually just the easy part because there's not much to consider strategically on the champion, right?
Yeah, there's both. I think that's where it comes from both angles, right? You have the reference point complexity.
Correct.
And then you have execution complexity.
And sometimes both marry. Like a champion like Fiddle or a Mumu have both.
That's both.
Yeah. It's, I guess, like assassins as well. A lot of our assassins are quite easy to execute in terms of the damage. Like I think like Kha'Zix, right? You can, just Q, but in terms of setting up a pick, that can be quite overwhelming.
Or you can have or you can have assassins actually that they have a very clear identity. You know exactly who you got to kill, but then the execution is hard. Right. So I mean, I think a Kali,
Zed and stuff. Right?
Yeah, Zed and stuff like that.
There's
like
easy assassins and then harder assassins. Yeah, execution.
Situationally, depending on the circumstance. So yeah, I think.
Don't talk about mids.
Okay. What are you talking about? Zed, Talon. There's so many assassins in the jungle. I can definitely speak on assassins.
Well, Zed's actually probably more common in jungle nowadays.
That's right. Yeah.
So is the Fury actually. There's a lot of Talon honestly as well.
There's no assassins left in mid.
Do you play these champs? No.
Zed.
I want to see Nathan's the Fury or something.
Dude, I started picking up assassins and understanding assassins with Diana. I love assassin Diana.
Yeah.
Full damage.
I really want to see, Nathan, you have a crack at Zed jungle once. At least once.
I don't know. I don't think that's happening all the time. But Rek'Sai, didn't I play and get your challenger with the mindset of being an assassin?
Yeah, you did. That was AD.
Prowler, you played Prowler
Yeah,
squad.
I was full lethality.
I think that was hard.
Yeah,
dude.
but mate,
I'm busting my
how
balls.
much damage did you do though?
What do you mean?
It was mostly like the threat of the kill, not really getting the kill. Like when you climb, did you get a lot of kills and like high damage?
Yeah.
Did you really?
A lot of 9, 0, 13.
Oh, really?
And stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
I genuinely think Rek'Sai is so hard.
Oh,
like,
dude.
I personally
I
find that
never
champ so
recommend
hard.
anyone to play
I think that champ
champ.
is so unintuitive.
Yeah.
Like you're blind.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, no, that aspect's fine.
That goes away in
that goes up
20
you
really
have
fast.
that, but then also like the way you engage and like
It's so like predictable if you like.
it's
in,
really
yeah.
it's kind of like I think it's more like it's like the Vex of mid lane. Like you do one thing like really,
Yeah,
really and you got to like
that's a good way of
know
putting it.
exactly when you need to go
Yeah,
in. And if
exactly
you don't,
right.
if you fuck up your engage, you're like done.
Yeah,
You're
done.
useless.
I think
Insta
it's
throw the
great,
game.
dude. Pure champ. It's like Alistar.
Yeah, it's like
It's
Alistair
like-
as well. Yeah.
I think those champs are really
really
tricky.
hard.
I don't
yeah.
think
They're
I don't-
simple on the surface, but winning
Yes.
actually winning
high
League of
level
Legends
League of
games.
Legends is hard.
Killing the Nexus becomes difficult for sure.
All right, well that's the mental stack episode in the books.
All right, good work, guys. Another fundamental explored of League of Legends. Good work, guys. 3-block process. We'll see you guys in our next episode.